Singin' in the Rain is often hailed not just for its joyful musical numbers and brilliant direction, but for the remarkable performances delivered by its core cast. The chemistry among the lead actors, their individual talents, and the convergence of their unique career trajectories contributed significantly to the film's enduring success. At the forefront of the cast are Gene Kelly, Debbie Reynolds, Donald O'Connor, and Jean Hagen. Each brought something distinct to the screen, and each saw their careers shaped in some way by the film's success. Gene Kelly, who played the charismatic Don Lockwood, was already an established star and one of the leading figures in musical cinema by the time Singin' in the Rain was released in 1952. With a background in dance and choreography, Kelly had a long-standing association with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, where he had already starred in classics such as Anchors Away, On the Town, and An American in Paris. What distinguished Kelly from many of his contemporaries was his athletic style of dancing, which combined classical ballet with a distinctly American flair. He didn't just dance, he moved with purpose, using his entire body to convey emotion and narrative. In Singin' in the Rain, his role as Don Lockwood allowed him to blend his talents as a dancer, actor, singer, and choreographer. The famous title number, where Kelly dances joyfully in the rain, is arguably the most iconic moment of his career. The physical demands of the scene, dancing soaked under pouring water for hours on end, demonstrated his remarkable endurance and dedication to the craft. Kelly also co-directed the film alongside Stanley Donen, showcasing his creative influence behind the scenes. The movie cemented his legacy as a pioneer in musical film, and though he continued to work in cinema and television for decades, Singin' in the Rain remains the centerpiece of his legacy. Debbie Reynolds, who portrayed Kathy Selden, was just 19 years old at the time and relatively new to major roles in Hollywood. Unlike Kelly and O'Connor, Reynolds had limited dance training, making her performance in Singin' in the Rain all the more impressive. She had appeared in minor roles and musicals, but had not yet proven herself as a leading lady. Her selection for the part was largely influenced by her girl-next-door appeal and her strong screen presence. Though her singing was dubbed in parts and her dancing required intensive training, Reynolds' performance was widely praised for its energy, charm, and sincerity. The behind-the-scenes effort she invested, reportedly working so hard that her feet bled during rehearsals, speaks to her determination. Despite the challenges, she held her own alongside two seasoned musical performers. This film launched her into superstardom, leading to a long and successful career in film, television, and music. In later years, Reynolds would often look back at Singin' in the Rain as both a highlight and a defining moment in her professional life. Donald O'Connor, cast as Cosmo Brown, was already well known for his work in vaudeville, comedy, and musical films. His physical comedy style and acrobatic dance abilities were on full display in the number Make 'Em Laugh, a performance that has since become legendary for its exuberance and technical precision. O'Connor's background in show business dated back to childhood, and by the time he appeared in Singin' in the Rain, he had honed his craft in a variety of musical comedies. What made his performance so memorable was the ease with which he combined humor, physicality, and musicality. O'Connor's ability to be both a sidekick and a scene stealer added a unique dynamic to the film. His rapport with Kelly was particularly strong, stemming from mutual respect and a shared understanding of dance as a storytelling tool. Although O'Connor had other notable roles, Singin' in the Rain became the pinnacle of his career. It showcased his full range of talents and won him a Golden Globe Award for Best Actor in a Musical or Comedy. Jean Hagen, who portrayed the hilariously shrill-voiced Lena Lamont, delivered one of the most underrated performances in the film. A seasoned actress known for her dramatic roles, Hagen took a comedic turn in Singin' in the Rain and did so with remarkable effectiveness. Her character was a caricature of the silent film diva struggling to adapt to the new era of sound cinema. Hagen's mastery of timing, facial expressions, and her intentionally grating voice made Lena Lamont both irritating and irresistibly funny. Ironically, Hagen was actually a very capable speaker with a refined voice, which she had to intentionally distort to play the role. The effort was so convincing that many viewers believed her to be genuinely tone-deaf. Her performance earned her an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. While Hagen continued to act in television and film, her portrayal of Lena Lamont remains the role most closely associated with her name. It's a testament to how a supporting role, when executed with excellence, can leave an indelible mark. The synergy among these four performers cannot be overstated. While Kelly brought the gravitas and innovation of a seasoned performer, Reynolds added youthful exuberance and earnestness. O'Connor supplied comic relief and physical brilliance, and Hagen delivered a performance that balanced satire and farce. Each of them brought not only their talents, but also their work ethic to the production, resulting in a film where the ensemble truly shined. Their on-screen chemistry helped the film transcend its genre and era. Beyond the core four, the supporting cast also deserves mention. Millard Mitchell played studio head R.F. Simpson, embodying the archetypal executive navigating the changing tides of cinema. His performance, while less flashy, grounded the film in the real-world challenges faced by the industry during the transition from silent films to talkies. Sid Charisse also made a memorable appearance in the Dream ballet sequence, despite not having a speaking role. Her presence and dancing provided one of the film's most glamorous and stylized moments. Already an acclaimed dancer, her role in Singin in the Rain led to even more prominent parts in MGM musicals throughout the 1950s. The impact of Singin in the Rain on the careers of its main cast members cannot be overstated. For Gene Kelly, it reinforced his position as a visionary and an icon of the musical genre. For Debbie Reynolds, it launched a career that would span more than 5 decades. For Donald O'Connor, it showcased his talent to a broader audience and remains his most celebrated work. For Jean Hagen, it offered a rare but unforgettable opportunity to exhibit her range as a comedic actress. The film not only captured these actors at their peak, but also helped define their legacies. In conclusion, the cast of Singin in the Rain represents a perfect convergence of talent, timing, and tenacity. Each actor brought their own history, strengths, and struggles to the project, and in doing so, created a cinematic masterpiece. The movie provided a platform where rising stars could shine and established performers could evolve. Its legacy is inseparable from the contributions of its main cast, whose performances continue to inspire admiration, analysis, and affection more than 7 decades later. Singin in the Rain is not just a cornerstone of American musical cinema. It is a cultural phenomenon whose influence has extended far beyond the confines of film history. Released in 1952, it arrived at a transitional moment in both Hollywood and American society. Though it depicted a fictionalized version of Hollywood's late 1920s shift from silent films to talkies, the movie itself was a self-aware and affectionate look at the industry's growing pains. In doing so, it offered not only entertainment but also commentary on technological advancement, celebrity culture, and the nature of performance. Over the decades, the film has grown in stature and meaning, becoming a frequent reference point in pop culture, academic discourse, and even political metaphor. One of the most immediate ways in which Singin in the Rain made a cultural impact was by immortalizing the transition from silent films to sound cinema. While other films have dramatized historical change, few have done so with such humor, elegance, and artistic innovation. The film simultaneously satirizes and pays homage to the silent era, using exaggerated characters and scenarios to reflect very real challenges faced by actors, studios, and technicians during that period. The character of Lena Lamont, for instance, captures the anxiety that many silent film stars experienced when faced with the arrival of sound. Her high-pitched, nasal voice is not merely a comedic device, but a symbol of obsolescence and the ruthless speed of technological change. By presenting this transformation through a comedic lens, the film allows modern audiences to understand the profound shift in filmmaking practices, performance styles, and celebrity identities that define the late 1920s and early 1930s. Culturally, Singin in the Rain became emblematic of post-World War II optimism. Though it depicts the 1920s, its release in the early 1950s allowed it to speak directly to an American audience that had recently emerged from the trauma of war and was entering an era of prosperity, consumerism, and rapid innovation. The film's upbeat tone, cheerful songs, and vibrant Technicolor palette offered escapism and joy at a time when people were eager for hopeful narratives. It celebrated resilience and reinvention, themes that resonated strongly with audiences of that time. The idea that performers, studios, and entire industries could adapt and thrive in the face of adversity paralleled the nation's own post-war transformation. Perhaps the most iconic cultural contribution of the film is the sequence in which Gene Kelly sings and dances in the rain. This scene has transcended the boundaries of film and become a cultural shorthand for uncontainable joy, artistic liberation, and cinematic beauty. Even people who have never seen the full movie recognize the image of Kelly swinging from a lamppost, drenched and grinning. The number has been referenced, parodied, and paid homage to in a vast array of media, from television shows and commercials to animated films and viral internet content. In effect, that single scene became a visual metaphor for finding happiness amidst adversity, a concept that appeals across generations. The cultural legacy of Singin' in the Rain also includes its influence on how musicals are conceived and executed. Prior to its release, many movie musicals relied heavily on adapting Broadway productions or emphasizing spectacle over narrative coherence. Singin' in the Rain, while featuring a soundtrack composed mostly of pre-existing songs by Arthur Freed and Nacio Herb Brown, created a new narrative around those songs. It demonstrated how musical numbers could serve the story rather than merely interrupt it. The seamless integration of plot, character development, and music became a template for future musical films. Directors and choreographers in later decades often cited the film as a masterclass in balancing narrative and performance. Beyond its formal innovations, the movie has had considerable staying power in public consciousness through regular revivals, academic study, and its inclusion in school curriculums and film appreciation courses. Its inclusion in lists of the greatest American films, often ranking at or near the top among musicals, has helped it remain part of ongoing conversations about cinematic excellence. The American Film Institute, for instance, has consistently recognized Singin' in the Rain in its lists of top films and moments, further enshrining its place in the cultural canon. The film's availability on home video, frequent television broadcasts, and eventual restoration for high-definition formats have ensured that it continues to reach new audiences long after its initial release. In terms of political and social influence, while Singin' in the Rain is not overtly political, it nonetheless serves as a lens through which we can examine issues like labor in the entertainment industry, gender dynamics, and the commodification of talent. The contrast between Don Lockwood's authentic skills and Lena Lamont's artificial fame mirrors ongoing debates about celebrity culture, where image often overshadows substance. Kathy Selden's struggle for recognition also reflects the challenges faced by many talented women in the entertainment world, both then and now. In some interpretations, the film subtly critiques the way studio systems manufactured and manipulated personas, an issue that remains relevant in the age of reality television and social media influencers. The film has also been cited in political commentary and satire. Various politicians and social critics have drawn upon the imagery of dancing in the rain as a metaphor for enduring hardship with optimism. The title alone has been appropriated in headlines, speeches, and slogans that aim to evoke perseverance and positivity. Though these references are often metaphorical, they underscore how deeply the film's core message has embedded itself in cultural language. Singin' in the Rain has also become a foundational text for choreographers, dance instructors, and performance artists. Its routines are often replicated or adapted in dance schools, theater productions, and talent competitions. The film's choreography has become part of the artistic vocabulary of American dance. Even outside of performance settings, the choreography and staging have inspired fashion shoots, music videos, and artistic installations. This cross-disciplinary influence points to the film's expansive cultural reach. In the world of internet culture, Singin' in the Rain has found renewed life through memes, GIFs, and remixes. The famous scene of Kelly dancing in the rain has been re-edited, rescored, and humorously subverted in online content. These digital reinterpretations not only show the scene's adaptability, but also reinforce its iconic status. New generations are encountering the film not just through screenings, but through the kaleidoscope of digital creativity. These iterations often carry the same emotional impact as the original, proving the timelessness of the imagery. The behind-the-scenes story of Singin' in the Rain is almost as fascinating as the film itself. Often celebrated as one of the greatest movie musicals of all time, the production of the film was anything but smooth. From casting complications and physical challenges to creative conflicts and unexpected improvisations, the making of Singin' in the Rain was marked by persistence, innovation, and sheer willpower. The film was a product of meticulous planning, artistic vision, and relentless effort from its cast and crew, especially co-directors Gene Kelly and Stanley Donen. These behind-the-scenes elements contributed enormously to the final magic that unfolded on screen. One of the most unique aspects of Singin' in the Rain is that it was not conceived with a fresh, original musical score. Instead, producer Arthur Freed decided to build the film around a selection of songs he had written in the late 1920s and 1930s with composer Natio Herb Brown. Freed had become a major producer at MGM and wanted to showcase his earlier musical work. This backward process, developing a plot that could incorporate a pre-existing song catalog, was unconventional for Hollywood at the time. The challenge for screenwriters Betty Comden and Adolph Green was to create a coherent narrative that could logically include musical numbers that were not originally written for it. Their solution was to set the story during the late 1920s, the very period in which the songs were originally released, and center it around the industry's transition from silent films to talkies. Co-directors Gene Kelly and Stanley Donen had previously collaborated on several successful projects, including On the Town, but their partnership on Singin' in the Rain was more complex. Kelly was deeply involved in all aspects of the film's choreography, performance, and direction. Donen, meanwhile, handled much of the technical direction and logistical coordination. Though they worked together as a directorial team, there were occasional creative tensions between the two, particularly as Kelly often took a dominant role due to his star power and choreographic vision. Despite the strain, their collaboration yielded a film with both emotional depth and technical brilliance. Perhaps the most legendary behind-the-scenes story from Singin' in the Rain involves the famous title number, in which Gene Kelly performs a jubilant dance in the pouring rain. The scene required numerous technical innovations and considerable physical endurance. Contrary to myth, the water used in the scene was not mixed with milk to enhance visibility. Doing so would have made the set unbearably sticky and difficult to clean. Instead, the lighting had to be adjusted carefully to ensure the rain was visible against the darker backdrop. Shooting the number took over 2 days, and Kelly was suffering from a fever of around 103 degrees Fahrenheit during filming. Despite being ill, he performed take after take, soaking wet, to capture the spontaneity and euphoria that would make the scene iconic. The finished product may look effortless, but it was the result of pain, sweat, and a perfectionist approach to every frame. Another challenging and memorable sequence was the Make 'Em Laugh number, performed by Donald O'Connor. A seasoned vaudeville performer, O'Connor had the comedic timing and physical prowess needed for the role of Cosmo Brown. However, the acrobatic demands of the number pushed him to his limits. He reportedly had to be hospitalized from exhaustion after completing the routine. The scene features pratfalls, somersaults, and stunts that look spontaneous, but were tightly choreographed and rehearsed. Adding to the difficulty was the studio floor, which was too slick for many of the physical gags. O'Connor had to perform the routine repeatedly to get the timing and execution just right. The final version was so well received that the studio asked him to reshoot it after discovering a technical flaw. Ever the professional, O'Connor obliged, even though it meant putting his body through the grueling process all over again. Debbie Reynolds, who played Kathy Selden, faced her own unique set of challenges. At just 19 years old, she had no formal dance training prior to filming. Paired with one of the most accomplished dancers in the industry, Reynolds had to learn quickly and keep up with Gene Kelly's exacting standards. According to her, the process was physically and emotionally grueling. She trained up to 8 hours a day and often found herself crying under a piano during breaks due to the pressure. Despite the harsh conditions, Reynolds never gave up. She later described the experience as one of the most difficult of her life, but also one of the most rewarding. One of the most challenging scenes for her was the Good Morning number, which required dozens of takes and demanding footwork. The result is a seamless and spirited performance that belies the sweat and tears behind it. Jean Hagen, who played Lena Lamont, was already a respected dramatic actress, but took on a comedic role with remarkable skill. Her character's grating voice was not only fictional but also far from Hagen's real speaking tone, which was elegant and refined. Ironically, while her character is dubbed in the film by Reynolds' character, it was actually Hagen who dubbed Reynolds in the scene within the film where Kathy supposedly dubs Lena. This subtle twist further highlights the film's layered commentary on the illusion of cinema and the behind-the-scenes manipulation that defines Hollywood. Hagen's comedic timing and over-the-top line delivery were the result of careful rehearsal and experimentation. Her portrayal added an essential element of satire to the film and gave it one of its most memorable and quotable characters. The sets used for Singin' in the Rain were constructed almost entirely on sound stages at MGM Studio Lot in Culver City, California. Extensive effort went into designing sets that captured the look and feel of 1920s Hollywood. From lavish movie palaces to film studio backlots and interior stages, the production design provided an authentic and immersive atmosphere. The iconic lamppost scene was built on a studio street set. The artificial rain system had to be engineered carefully so that it would appear realistic on camera without drenching the lighting equipment or distorting sound. The choreography throughout the film is another crucial element that required significant behind-the-scenes coordination. Kelly, who choreographed nearly every routine, often pushed the boundaries of traditional musical staging. The Broadway melody ballet sequence near the end of the film is a perfect example of this ambition. It's a nearly 14-minute dream sequence, inspired by ballet, fantasy, and abstract art. Featuring Kelly and dancer Sid Charisse, the segment required weeks of rehearsal and detailed camera work. The lavish costumes, elaborate sets, and surreal transitions marked a stylistic shift from the rest of the film and showcased Kelly's commitment to artistic innovation. This sequence was also a major gamble, as it diverged from the central narrative, but ultimately became one of the film's most visually striking moments. Singin' in the Rain unfolds with an elegant blend of humor, romance, and satire, presenting a storyline that is as compelling in its construction as it is delightful in execution. While the movie is primarily remembered for its musical numbers and iconic dance scenes, the plot and narrative structure form a strong backbone that holds the film together. It is a story about change, technological change, personal transformation, and the evolution of the entertainment industry. Through its carefully crafted story arc, dynamic pacing, and character-driven scenes, Singin' in the Rain succeeds in offering both entertainment and insight into the golden age of Hollywood. Set in 1927, the film opens with a celebration, the premiere of the latest silent film starring beloved screen duo Don Lockwood and Lena Lamont. The opening scene, a red carpet event attended by adoring fans and nosy reporters, sets the tone for a film that will repeatedly juxtapose public fantasy with private reality. Don, the film's central protagonist, arrives to thunderous applause, recounting his journey to stardom through a flashback montage that humorously distorts the truth. This initial sequence introduces the audience to the performative nature of celebrity and sets up Don's character as both charming and self-aware. The flashback ends just as Don enters the theater to watch his latest film, reminding viewers that what the public sees is often far removed from reality. This introduction effectively anchors the theme of image versus identity, which will resurface throughout the story. It also establishes Don's relationship with his on-screen partner Lena Lamont, whose shrill personality and delusional belief that their on-screen romance is real creates both comedic tension and narrative conflict. After the premiere, Don flees from the crowd and accidentally lands in the passenger seat of a car driven by Kathy Selden, a young aspiring actress. Their meeting, both unexpected and symbolic, shifts the film into its first turning point. Kathy challenges Don's ego, claiming to prefer stage acting over what she considers the low art of silent film. Her comments rattle Don, but also intrigue him. This encounter not only sparks the romantic subplot, but also plants the seed of Don's eventual personal growth. Kathy becomes more than a love interest. She is a mirror through which Don begins to see himself more clearly. The story moves quickly into its central conflict, the advent of sound in cinema. This shift is first hinted at with the brief but impactful introduction of the jazz singer, the first full-length talkie, which causes a seismic shift in the Hollywood landscape. Studios scramble to adapt, and Don and Lena's next film is converted into a sound picture, The Dueling Cavalier. However, the transition proves to be a disaster. Lena's grating voice and poor diction make the early sound tests comically painful, and the actors, unused to speaking during scenes, struggle with microphone placement and timing. These scenes, filled with clever humor and visual gags, show the chaos of technological change in a traditionally visual medium. This portion of the film serves as the midpoint, both narratively and thematically. As the old system collapses, a new one must rise in its place. Don, along with his best friend Cosmo Brown and Kathy, brainstorms a solution, transforming the Dueling Cavalier into a musical called The Dancing Cavalier. This transformation becomes the central quest of the film, driving the characters toward a shared goal and establishing the stakes of their professional and personal endeavors. The decision to dub Lena's voice with Kathy's leads to both comic complications and deeper moral questions. On one hand, it's an act of ingenuity that saves the film and revitalizes Don's career. On the other, it sets up a deception that threatens Kathy's dreams of being recognized as a legitimate actress. This conflict reaches a critical point when Lena discovers the plan and uses her contract to blackmail the studio into keeping Kathy hidden and uncredited. Here, the story introduces a second, more personal conflict, whether Don and Kathy can overcome the artificial boundaries imposed by fame, image, and industry politics. The climax arrives at the premiere of The Dancing Cavalier. The film within a film is a success, and audiences are ecstatic. However, Lena insists on addressing the crowd, and when she begins to speak, her real voice shatters the illusion. The studio tries to maintain the deception by having Kathy sing and speak behind the curtain while Lena mimes on stage. But Don, fed up with the charade and unwilling to let Kathy be exploited, pulls back the curtain and reveals the truth. It's a triumphant moment, not only a romantic gesture but also an act of integrity and rebellion against a corrupt system. The film concludes with Don and Kathy finally receiving both professional and romantic fulfillment. The closing image is of a billboard advertising their new film together, Singin' in the Rain, bringing the narrative full circle. This final moment is both literal and symbolic. They've weathered the storm, so to speak, and emerged into a new era with love, talent, and honesty intact. From a structural standpoint, the film follows a classic three-act design, though with the added texture of musical interludes and comedy sequences. The first act introduces the world of silent film, Don's personal identity crisis, and the beginnings of the technological shift. The second act presents the central obstacle, how to survive in a changing industry, while developing the romantic and moral dilemmas. The third act resolves these issues through revelation, confrontation, and transformation. One of the film's narrative strengths lies in its pacing. The story never lingers too long in exposition, instead using musical numbers to propel the plot or explore character psychology. Songs like Good Morning and You Were Meant for Me serve not just as entertainment, but as emotional and narrative markers. The musical interludes are strategically placed to punctuate turning points, providing relief or emphasizing internal change. For example, the Singin' in the Rain number follows Don's realization that his feelings for Kathy have made him truly happy. The joy he expresses is not abstract. It is the culmination of his emotional arc thus far. Additionally, the use of irony and meta-commentary throughout the plot adds layers of depth. The film's portrayal of actors pretending to be other people while also acting in a film about acting creates a self-referential loop that cleverly examines the illusions of cinema. This is further emphasized through Lena's character, who is seen as glamorous by audiences but is insecure, manipulative, and tone-deaf behind the scenes. The film invites viewers to question how much of what they see in Hollywood is real and how much is constructed. Another interesting narrative choice is the inclusion of the Broadway melody ballet sequence. Though somewhat detached from the main plot, this dreamlike interlude allows the film to explore fantasy and ambition in a visually abstract way. It serves as a narrative pause and artistic crescendo, presenting Dawn's vision of what the future of entertainment might look like. Its inclusion signals a broader point. The story of Singin in the Rain is not just about a single actor or romance, but about the evolution of an entire art form. Singin in the Rain is often celebrated for its lighthearted tone, dazzling choreography, and memorable songs, but beneath the surface, it is a film rich with themes and layered symbolism. Far from being just a romantic musical comedy, the film explores complex ideas about identity, transformation, authenticity, technology, illusion, and the nature of art itself. It manages to critique and celebrate Hollywood at the same time, using humor and spectacle as tools to express deeper concerns about the evolving entertainment industry and the people who inhabit it. These thematic threads are woven seamlessly into the film's dialogue, character arcs, musical numbers, and visual design, giving the story a resonance that continues to attract audiences and scholars alike. One of the most prominent themes in the film is the conflict between appearance and reality. From the very beginning, the audience is presented with a world where illusion is everything. The film opens with Don Lockwood recounting a fictionalized version of his life story to an audience of adoring fans. What he describes as a noble journey of stagecraft and dedication is revealed through flashbacks to be a series of slapstick gigs and chance opportunities. This contrast sets the tone for the rest of the film, showing how the entertainment industry often fabricates reality to craft a more appealing public image. This theme is reinforced by the character of Lena Lamont. To her fans, she is the glamorous leading lady, adored and respected. But behind the scenes, she is insecure, vain, and selfish. Her high-pitched, grating voice is symbolic of the gap between perception and truth. Her entire persona is a construction of the silent film era, beautiful to look at, but devoid of substance or adaptability. Her struggle to transition to talkies becomes a metaphor for people who are unable to evolve when their image no longer fits the new reality. Lena's character embodies the dangers of clinging to a false self-image and the humiliation that follows when the truth is exposed. Closely related to this is the theme of authenticity versus artificiality. Dawn's journey throughout the film is, at its core, a quest to become more genuine. Though he begins as someone who plays along with the studio's narrative and basks in his own celebrity, his interactions with Kathy begin to chip away at that facade. She challenges him to be more than just a pretty face, and gradually he begins to embrace his identity as a performer who wants to create meaningful work. The romantic subplot is essentially a vehicle for Don's emotional growth, pushing him to reconcile his public image with his private self. The film suggests that true artistry comes not from fame or popularity, but from honesty and hard work. The theme of transformation is another driving force in the narrative. The film is set during a pivotal historical moment, the transition from silent cinema to sound, which symbolizes broader changes in technology, art, and society. The characters must adapt or be left behind. Dawn, Cosmo, and Kathy represent adaptability and innovation. They embrace change, learn new skills, and find creative ways to stay relevant. Lena, on the other hand, resists transformation and instead attempts to maintain her power through manipulation. Her inability to change leads to her downfall, reinforcing the idea that evolution is essential in both personal and professional spheres. This theme of transformation also operates on a more symbolic level. Rain, which appears most memorably during the title song, traditionally symbolizes both cleansing and renewal. When Dawn dances through the rain in the film's most iconic scene, it is more than just an expression of joy, it is a visual representation of rebirth. He is shedding his old, manufactured self and embracing a new, more authentic identity. The rain washes away the illusions of Hollywood and leaves behind something purer and more honest. It is a moment of liberation and clarity, made all the more powerful because it is spontaneous and emotional rather than staged or rehearsed. Another key theme in the film is the role of women in the entertainment industry, which is explored through the contrasting characters of Kathy and Lena. Kathy represents talent, integrity, and independence. She refuses to be objectified or used by the studio system and is determined to be recognized for her skills rather than her looks. Lena, conversely, is a creation of that very system, famous primarily for her appearance and reliant on the machinery of publicity to maintain her status. Their conflict over voice dubbing becomes symbolic of a broader struggle for recognition, agency, and respect. In the end, Kathy's triumph over Lena is not just a romantic resolution but a thematic statement about merit and authenticity rising above superficial glamour. The idea of voice itself serves as both a literal and metaphorical motif throughout the film. On the surface, the film is about the technical challenge of transitioning to sound cinema. But on a deeper level, voice represents power, truth, and self-expression. Kathy's voice is strong and genuine, while Lena's is shrill and dishonest. Don, who starts off miming to the studio's manufactured image, finds his real voice only when he begins to collaborate with Kathy and Cosmo. The metaphor is clear. To succeed, both in life and in art, one must find their own voice and use it truthfully. Another recurring theme is collaboration and friendship, especially in the relationship between Don and Cosmo. Unlike many Hollywood portrayals of stardom, which focus on individual brilliance, Singin in the Rain emphasizes teamwork. Don's success depends not only on his own talent but also on Cosmo's wit and Kathy's courage. Their bond is marked by mutual support, creativity, and loyalty. Cosmo, in particular, provides both comic relief and emotional grounding. His role reminds the audience that innovation often comes from collective effort, not individual ego. The creative energy between Don, Cosmo, and Kathy is what drives the transformation of the dueling cavalier into the dancing cavalier, reflecting the broader idea that great art is built on collaboration. The film also contains symbolic references to modernity and progress. The introduction of sound is not just a plot device, it is a symbol of disruption, innovation, and the unpredictable nature of technological advancement. The chaos that ensues when the characters try to adapt to microphones and synchronize their performances mirrors the real-world upheaval industries face when new technologies emerge. The story becomes a commentary on how society reacts to change, with fear, resistance, adaptation, and ultimately, progress. Even the structure of the film contributes to its symbolism. The movie begins and ends with public performances, first at the premiere of a silent film and then at the unveiling of a sound musical. The bookending of these events highlights the cyclical nature of entertainment and the continual reinvention required to survive in a rapidly changing world. By showing how Don and Kathy evolve between these two moments, the film subtly argues that embracing authenticity, collaboration, and change is the key to personal and artistic fulfillment. The visual style and cinematography of Singin in the Rain play a critical role in shaping its identity as one of the most vibrant, enduring, and artistically rich films in cinematic history. Far from merely serving as a backdrop to the musical numbers and comedic scenes, the visual choices in the film work in harmony with the narrative and emotional tones. The film is a masterclass in how lighting, color, composition, camera movement, and set design can come together to elevate storytelling. Though made in 1952, its visual sensibility feels remarkably modern, playful, and precise, with techniques that continue to influence filmmakers and cinematographers to this day. The film was shot in Technicolor, a process that was already well established by the early 1950s but still fairly expensive and logistically demanding. This choice of color format was essential, not only to enhance the film's energy and fantasy elements, but also to distinguish it from the black and white silent era it portrays. The saturated colors bring to life the glamour of Hollywood's golden age, while also drawing a clear visual boundary between past and present. From the soft pastels of romantic sequences to the deep reds and golds of theatrical scenes, the film uses color as a narrative and emotional tool. One of the most striking examples of color symbolism is in the Broadway Melody ballet sequence near the end of the film. This extended dream sequence shifts the visual tone entirely, immersing the viewer in a surreal, stylized world. The color palette becomes more experimental, with intense hues and dramatic lighting shifts. Sid Charisse, in her green dress with a long, flowing veil, appears in a sequence that contrasts dramatically with the more grounded visual style of the rest of the film. The exaggerated lighting, stage fog, and abstract backdrops all contribute to a sense of fantasy and psychological depth. It's not just a performance, it's a window into Dawn Lockwood's ambition, idealism, and artistic desire. Lighting is another area where the film excels. Cinematographer Harold Rawson, who had already established a reputation for his work on films like The Wizard of Oz, brought a delicate and versatile touch to Singin' in the Rain. He employed high-key lighting in most scenes to maintain the film's buoyant tone, but also used more focused and dramatic lighting in emotionally significant moments. For example, the romantic scene where Dawn takes Kathy onto a quiet, darkened soundstage and sings "You Were Meant for Me" uses soft, ambient light to create an intimate atmosphere. The lighting isolates the two characters from the world around them, turning the large, industrial space into a private dreamscape. Camera movement and framing also contribute significantly to the film's dynamic visual style. Unlike many musicals of the era that relied heavily on static wide shots to capture dance numbers, Singin' in the Rain often uses the camera as an active participant in the choreography. Gene Kelly, who co-directed the film with Stanley Donen, was a pioneer in integrating camera movement into dance sequences. He believed the camera should dance with the performers, rather than simply record them. This philosophy is clearly evident in the film's most famous number, Singin' in the Rain. The camera glides and swings with Kelly, moving through puddles, lampposts, and alleyways in a way that mirrors his fluid motion. These tracking shots required precise coordination and set design to allow for seamless movement and multiple takes. The Good Morning number is another example where the camera work enhances the choreography. The scene takes place in Dawn's home and moves through various rooms, with the camera following the trio as they dance through the kitchen, living area, and even over furniture. The framing keeps all three performers in view, allowing their chemistry and synchronization to be fully appreciated. The careful blocking and steady camera allow for long takes that emphasize the performer's athleticism and skill, avoiding unnecessary cuts that might disrupt the rhythm or diminish the spectacle. The set design also plays a crucial visual role. The film within a film structure allows for a variety of settings, from silent movie palaces and outdoor studio lots to lavish ballrooms and intimate dressing rooms. Each environment is carefully crafted to reflect the character dynamics and thematic content of the scene. The Hollywood studio lot, for instance, is a maze of artificiality, buildings that look like cityscapes on the outside but are hollow and exposed from behind. This mirrors the film's recurring theme of illusion versus reality, showing the audience how much of what they see on screen is a carefully curated facade. In scenes that take place during film productions, such as the disastrous early attempts to film The Dueling Cavalier with sound, the cinematography adopts a slightly more restrained and observational style. This allows the chaos of the scenes to speak for itself. In these sequences, the framing often emphasizes the technical apparatus of filmmaking, microphones, wires, camera setups, reminding viewers of the complexities involved in movie production. This self-reflexive visual approach adds a layer of commentary on the filmmaking process itself. Montage is also used effectively, particularly in the flashback sequence near the beginning of the film, where Don narrates his fabricated life story. The montage includes a series of rapidly cut scenes that contrast dramatically with his voiceover. Visually, we see the real Don, falling through vaudeville stages, playing the violin in dive bars, taking on embarrassing stunt roles, while he tells the audience a story of high art and dignity. The humorous contrast between what we see and what we hear is amplified by quick editing and exaggerated visuals, reinforcing the theme of public image versus private reality. The film also experiments with perspective and framing in more subtle ways. For example, in scenes where Lena Lamont is present, the camera often captures her from a slightly lower angle, exaggerating her sense of self-importance. In contrast, Kathy is often filmed in medium or close-up shots with natural lighting, highlighting her authenticity and approachability. These subtle choices shape our perceptions of the characters without overtly signaling who the audience should root for. Costume design, while covered in more detail in a separate section, also contributes to the visual storytelling. The costumes are often used to signal status, character traits, or transitions in character development. The vibrant and stylized costumes in musical numbers contrast with the more subdued and realistic outfits worn during behind-the-scenes scenes, again emphasizing the duality between performance and reality. Special attention must also be paid to the use of rain in the title number, not just as a symbol but as a visual element. Creating artificial rain on a soundstage is technically challenging, especially when working with lighting and film stock that must capture each drop without overexposure or visual clutter. The success of this scene lies not only in Gene Kelly's performance, but in the visual composition. The way the rain is illuminated against the darkened background, the reflections in the puddles, and the shadows cast by lamplight. Every visual component was carefully designed to make the scene feel magical and real at the same time. The soundtrack and sound design of Singin' in the Rain stand as some of the most iconic and influential in the history of film musicals. While the movie is filled with joyful dance sequences and unforgettable songs, it also represents a sophisticated use of sound that goes beyond music. It uses audio as a storytelling tool, a thematic device, and a form of artistic commentary on the very nature of cinema. From classic melodies to cleverly crafted diegetic sound cues, the film's sonic landscape is rich, layered, and deeply integrated into the viewing experience. Unlike many musicals that featured entirely original scores, Singin' in the Rain used a jukebox format, drawing from the catalog of songs already owned by the film studio, MGM. Most of the music was written by the songwriting duo Arthur Freed and Nacio Herb Brown, with Freed also serving as the film's producer. These songs had originally been written during the 1920s and 1930s and were now repurposed, reinterpreted, and sometimes completely recontextualized for the film's 1952 setting. The result is a nostalgic yet fresh collection of numbers that both celebrate and gently critique the golden age of early Hollywood. The title song, Singin' in the Rain, is undoubtedly the most famous. It had originally been written in 1929 and used in earlier films, but it became immortalized through Gene Kelly's performance in this movie. What makes this number exceptional is not just the melody or the lyrics, but how the sound of the rain is integrated with the music. Each splash, puddle jump, and slap of wet shoes on the pavement becomes part of the rhythm. The orchestrators and sound engineers ensured that the diegetic sounds of the rain, footsteps, and water hitting various surfaces all contributed to the musicality of the scene. It creates a sensation that Don Lockwood isn't just singing in the rain, he's communing with it. The environment becomes a musical instrument in itself. It's also worth noting that the rain sounds had to be carefully designed. Real rain doesn't always show up well on camera, and its sound can be difficult to capture clearly. As a result, the rain effects were created using a mixture of audio recordings and artificial enhancements. In post-production, the sound of the rain was meticulously layered with the orchestral accompaniment to ensure it never overwhelmed the vocals, but still maintained a strong presence. The gentle hissing of the rainfall and the rhythmic splashes are synchronized with Kelly's movements, making the whole scene feel like a perfectly choreographed duet between man and weather. The film's opening musical sequence, Fit as a Fiddle, performed by Don and Cosmo, sets a brisk and comedic tone. The rapid tempo of the song mirrors the frenetic energy of the visuals, with violins being used not just musically but also as props in the choreography. The strings snap, the bows flail, and the harmony between the two characters is established both through their voices and their synchronized physical performance. The sound design here is intentionally playful, highlighting the slapstick elements while reinforcing their vaudeville roots. Another major number, Make 'Em Laugh, performed by Donald O'Connor, is a masterclass in physical comedy and sound design. Though the song was inspired by and closely mirrors Cole Porter's Be a Clown, it features unique audio elements that enhance its chaotic brilliance. Each pratfall, bounce, crash, and wheeze is perfectly timed and emphasized with exaggerated sound effects. These are not merely background noises, they're part of the performance. The exaggerated sound effects make the visual gags land more effectively, turning Cosmo's comedic desperation into a symphony of clatters, thuds, and wheezes. The viewer doesn't just see the pain and absurdity, They hear it in detail. The entire scene becomes a showcase for how sound can serve both comedic timing and character development. You Were Meant for Me, a quieter ballad, shows the opposite approach. Instead of broad, exaggerated effects, the song is set against a soft and ambient soundscape. The background is intentionally muted, allowing the focus to fall entirely on Dawn's voice and the lush orchestration. The intimacy of the moment is preserved by isolating the audio, letting the strings swell gently without overpowering the vocals. It's a sonic representation of emotional vulnerability as Dawn opens up to Kathy and reveals a gentler side of himself. The lighting, staging, and audio all collaborate to create a moment of cinematic tenderness. The film also plays extensively with sound as a narrative device. One of the central conflicts of the movie is the transition from silent films to talkies and the chaos that ensues when Lena Lamont's shrill voice is deemed unsuitable for sound. The film mines this for both humor and commentary. In the early scenes where sound is being tested on set, viewers are treated to a series of comic failures: microphones placed too close to a pearl necklace, awkward line readings, and actors forgetting to speak loudly enough. These moments depend heavily on sound editing and mixing. The discrepancies between what is seen and what is heard create a kind of dissonance that becomes essential to the humor. In the disastrous premiere of The Dueling Cavalier, the audience hears delayed dialogue, background noises, and comical voice misalignments. When Lena speaks, her voice comes out delayed or out of sync, making her look ridiculous. These intentionally bad sound effects required expert timing and technical precision to get wrong in exactly the right way. The editing had to simulate the limitations of early sound technology, while still making it clear to the 1952 audience what was happening. The mockery of early sound film challenges was as much an audio feat as a visual one. Later in the film, when Kathy is recruited to dub over Lena's voice, the film uses an intricate layering of soundtracks. In scenes where Kathy is speaking or singing for Lena, the audience hears Debbie Reynolds' voice synced with Gene Hagen's image. In a meta twist, however, it was not always Debbie Reynolds' own voice used in those scenes. It was often ghosted by Betty Noyes, a professional ghost singer. This ironic layer, Reynolds being dubbed in a film where she is playing someone else's dubber, adds a subtle but fascinating dimension to the film's approach to sound and authenticity. It emphasizes the film's ongoing theme of illusion versus reality, this time through audio trickery. Another noteworthy example is the Moses Supposes number, where Dawn and Cosmo mock a diction coach. The scene begins as a formal elocution lesson, with the coach repeating dry tongue twisters in a sterile environment. But as Dawn and Cosmo take over, the rhythm builds, the piano accompaniment picks up speed, and the repetition becomes musical. The diction lesson transforms into a rhythmic and melodic performance, blending sound and language into an art form. The musicality of speech is exaggerated to such a degree that the dialogue becomes indistinguishable from song. This number showcases how the film doesn't treat music and dialogue as separate elements. They are part of the same fluid auditory universe. Upon its release in 1952, Singin' in the Rain entered the cinematic world during a particularly rich period for Hollywood musicals. Though it would later go on to be considered one of the greatest films of all time, its initial reception, while generally positive, did not suggest the legendary status it would eventually attain. At the time, critics and audiences appreciated the film for its charm, music, and performances, but it was not regarded as a revolutionary or groundbreaking work. In fact, it wasn't even the most celebrated musical of its release year. That honor often went to an American in Paris, another MGM production that had won Best Picture at the Academy Awards the previous year. However, the depth of Singin' in the Rain's craftsmanship, wit, and influence became more apparent with the passing of time, as film scholars and the public alike began to reevaluate its significance. Critics in 1952 generally praised the film's humor, performances, and dance numbers. Variety gave the film a strong review, calling it a cheerful and fast-moving musical that boasted technical polish and comedic flair. The New York Times reviewer at the time lauded Gene Kelly's performance and direction, noting the inventive choreography and spirited musical sequences. Donald O'Connor's performance, in particular, was singled out by multiple reviews as a standout. His comedic timing, acrobatics, and charm in the Make 'Em Laugh number were seen as both physically astonishing and emotionally delightful. Jean Hagen's performance as the shrill-voiced Lena Lamont was another highlight frequently mentioned by reviewers. Many critics found her portrayal to be a comic masterpiece of vocal manipulation and facial expressions, a performance that added a layer of satire and intelligence to the film's story. Debbie Reynolds received more mixed reactions at the time of release. Some critics praised her youthful exuberance and sincerity, while others noted that she seemed less seasoned compared to her co-stars. What few at the time acknowledged was the extraordinary pressure Reynolds was under during production, and how she rose to the challenge despite lacking formal dance training. Over time, her performance would be reevaluated more favorably, particularly after audiences became aware of the behind-the-scenes efforts and physical toll it took on her to perform alongside legends like Gene Kelly and Donald O'Connor. Despite the generally warm critical response, Singin' in the Rain was not a massive box office juggernaut. It performed modestly well and earned back its budget, but it was not the highest-grossing musical of the year. At the 25th Academy Awards in 1953, the film received only 2 nominations: Best Supporting Actress for Jean Hagen and Best Musical Score for Lenny Hayton. It did not win in either category. This limited recognition came as a surprise to some, given the film's undeniable energy and polish. However, the Academy's focus at the time was often on grander, more dramatic musicals or prestige pictures, and Singin' in the Rain, with its lighthearted tone and self-referential humor, may have seemed less important in comparison. As decades passed, the critical consensus surrounding Singin' in the Rain evolved dramatically. By the 1960s and 70s, as film studies began to emerge as an academic discipline, the movie was increasingly analyzed for its meta-commentary on the film industry, its technical achievements, and its innovative use of sound and choreography. Critics began to see it not just as a delightful entertainment, but as a sophisticated and layered examination of the transition from silent film to sound, wrapped in the joyous trappings of a musical comedy. The film's playful deconstruction of Hollywood's golden age was recognized as both loving and sharply intelligent, turning what might have been a nostalgic exercise into a clever satire. Modern critics have nearly universally praised the film. It is often described as the quintessential Hollywood musical, a perfect synthesis of performance, direction, music, and wit. Gene Kelly's choreography, especially in the title number, has become the subject of academic papers and retrospectives. The blending of diegetic and non-diegetic sound, the fluid camera movements, and the elaborate set pieces are now seen as masterstrokes of cinematic technique. What was once a fun, well-made film became, over time, a pillar of American cinema, studied for its structure, style, and historical significance. The American Film Institute has frequently honored the film in its rankings. In 1998, it was ranked number 10 on the AFI's 100 Years, 100 Movies list of the greatest American films. When the list was updated in 2007, it moved up to number 5. It has also topped the AFI's list of the greatest movie musicals of all time, solidifying its status as a defining entry in the genre. This kind of institutional recognition helped cement the film's critical legacy and drew new generations of viewers and scholars to revisit it with fresh eyes. Beyond critics and institutions, the film has long enjoyed enthusiastic support from the public. Audience scores on review aggregator websites remain exceptionally high, and the film continues to be shown in revival theaters, film schools, and special anniversary screenings. Its joyous spirit and optimistic tone have given an enduring appeal, even as cinematic tastes have changed. Its family-friendly content, infectious music, and universal themes of reinvention and resilience make it accessible to audiences of all ages. The film is also often the subject of retrospectives on television and streaming services, particularly during awards season or in discussions about the greatest films ever made. Numerous filmmakers have cited Singin' in the Rain as a personal inspiration, including directors from a wide range of genres. Its technical and artistic achievements continue to influence not only musical films, but also modern comedies and dramas that play with genre conventions or historical settings. However, not all criticism of the film is uniformly positive. Some modern viewers have pointed out areas where the film reflects the social norms and limitations of its time. For instance, the romantic dynamic between Don Lockwood and Kathy Selden has been occasionally criticized for containing elements of condescension or control, such as when Don initially mocks Kathy's aspirations. These moments can be viewed as reflective of gender dynamics common in 1950s cinema, where male leads often overshadowed or dominated their female counterparts, even in romantic subplots. Another area of contemporary critique involves the way Debbie Reynolds was treated during production. Although the audience sees a dazzling young star performing effortlessly on screen, the reality behind the scenes was far more grueling. Reynolds was pushed to physical and emotional exhaustion, famously recounting that the experience made her feet bleed and that Gene Kelly was often harsh toward her, expecting perfection. These revelations, though not always discussed at the time, have led some viewers to re-examine the film's creation with more critical awareness, raising questions about labor, power dynamics, and recognition in Hollywood. The legacy of Singin' in the Rain is not merely the result of its dazzling dance numbers or memorable songs. It is a reflection of how the film has shaped the evolution of cinema, the musical genre, and popular culture at large. Since its release in 1952, Singin' in the Rain has become one of the most enduring and frequently cited motion pictures in film history. Its influence stretches far beyond the boundaries of classic Hollywood musicals, extending into modern filmmaking, music videos, advertising, stage productions, and even digital culture. The movie's remarkable staying power lies in its ability to entertain, critique, and elevate the art of cinema, all at once. One of the most visible and long-lasting impacts of Singin' in the Rain is its role in defining what the movie musical could be. Before its release, musicals had typically followed a standard formula, offering escapist entertainment through song and dance, but rarely engaging deeply with the nature of the film industry itself. Singin' in the Rain broke from that mold by combining the expected musical conventions with a layered, satirical story about Hollywood's transition from silent film to sound. This self-awareness helped pave the way for later musicals to experiment with genre and subject matter. Films like Cabaret, All That Jazz, and La La Land owe a debt to Singin' in the Rain for showing that musicals could be simultaneously celebratory and introspective, whimsical and incisive. The film's commentary on technological change and industry transformation has proven timeless. Though its plot focuses on the shift from silent to sound films, the themes resonate with audiences living through their own forms of media disruption. Whether it's the arrival of television in the 1950s, the digital revolution in the 1990s, or the streaming era today, Singin' in the Rain continues to be relevant as a metaphor for innovation, resistance, and reinvention in the entertainment world. As new media constantly challenge established formats, the film remains a guidepost for how creativity can flourish in times of upheaval. From a stylistic standpoint, Singin' in the Rain has left an indelible mark on cinematic language. Its famous title number, featuring Gene Kelly dancing through puddles with joy and abandon, has become one of the most iconic images in movie history. That sequence alone has been referenced, parodied, and honored in hundreds of other works. From children's cartoons and sitcoms to music videos and commercials, the sight of someone joyfully twirling an umbrella in the rain is instantly associated with the spirit of the film. It has transcended its original context to become a universal symbol of exuberance, resilience, and romantic idealism. The film's influence is especially visible in the world of dance and choreography. Gene Kelly's innovative blend of ballet, tap, and modern dance redefined what dance could look like on screen. His athletic, expressive, and emotionally grounded style has inspired generations of performers. Contemporary choreographers regularly cite Kelly as a major influence, and dance sequences in films ranging from Flashdance to Step Up show echoes of his dynamic physical storytelling. The seamless integration of movement with narrative, mood, and music, so masterfully achieved in Singin' in the Rain, has become a benchmark for cinematic dance. Singin' in the Rain has also played a pivotal role in preserving and revitalizing interest in the golden age of Hollywood. As newer audiences discovered the film, they were introduced not only to its own story and songs but also to the broader history of the film industry. Through its behind-the-scenes lens, the movie offers a primer on silent-era acting styles, the chaos of early sound recording, and the studio system's often absurd promotional tactics. In this way, it has become an educational tool, bridging the gap between generations and keeping the memory of early cinema alive. The film's cultural reach extends to the stage as well. In the years since its release, Singin' in the Rain has been adapted into a successful theatrical production, with multiple revivals in London's West End and on Broadway. These stage versions often recreate the movie's most famous scenes, including the rain-drenched finale, which requires elaborate water effects and choreographic precision. The transition from screen to stage has allowed the film's legacy to continue in live performance, reaching new audiences and reaffirming its status as a classic. Its legacy is not confined to professional productions. The film's songs and scenes are widely used in dance schools, drama classes, and community theaters. Students often study its choreography, mimic its comedic timing, and use its scenes to practice acting or voice work. The accessibility of its themes, ambition, love, insecurity, artistic passion, make it a favorite for performers in training. As a result, Singin' in the Rain continues to shape the development of young artists around the world. On a broader pop cultural scale, the film's influence can be seen in its frequent appearances in tribute montages, award shows, and retrospectives. During major Hollywood events, clips from Singin' in the Rain are almost always included in celebrations of film history. It is often quoted, visually echoed, or directly referenced in films celebrating the movies themselves. When La La Land paid homage to the golden age of musicals, critics and audiences immediately drew connections to Singin' in the Rain. Its vibrant palette, playful dream sequences, and dance-centric storytelling were clear descendants of Kelly and Donen's masterpiece. Musicians have also found inspiration in the film. From Madonna to Bruno Mars, pop stars have drawn on the film's retro-glam aesthetic, choreography, and stylized sets for their music videos and performances. The concept of creating an alternate, romanticized world through music and movement, so central to Singin' in the Rain, has become a staple in the visual language of popular music. The internet age has introduced the film to a whole new generation through memes, remixes, and digital references. The scene of Gene Kelly joyfully splashing through the rain has been turned into countless GIFs, often used to express happiness, romanticism, or irony. It's not uncommon to see modern memes use clips from the film to convey everything from post-breakup resilience to the joy of payday. In this way, Singin' in the Rain remains part of the ongoing digital conversation, proving that even 70 years after its release, it still speaks to emotional states with clarity and charm. Academically, Singin' in the Rain is widely studied in film programs around the world. It serves as a case study in narrative structure, genre blending, performance, and cinematic innovation. Professors use it to discuss film history, the transition from silent to sound, and the evolution of American musicals. Its layered commentary on authenticity, image-making, and stardom continues to provoke discussion among scholars and students alike. It's not just a film to be enjoyed, it's a film to be dissected, debated, and appreciated on multiple levels. The enduring appeal of Singin' in the Rain is not merely due to its technical brilliance, star power, or toe-tapping soundtrack. It lies deeply in how audiences across decades, cultures, and generations have connected to the film on personal and emotional levels. Whether viewers first encountered the film during its original theatrical run in 1952, caught it on television in the 1970s, watched it in a classroom in the 1990s, or streamed it on a digital platform in the 21st century, the reactions have remained remarkably consistent. Joy, admiration, and a sense of nostalgia for something both timeless and universal. Audience reflections on the film often reveal how profoundly it resonates, not just as a piece of entertainment, but as a cultural touchstone that speaks to deeper human experiences. For many viewers in the 1950s, particularly those who had lived through or grown up during the silent film era, Singin' in the Rain felt both familiar and novel. It offered a loving tribute to a bygone era, with characters and situations that mirrored the real upheavals that occurred when sound was introduced to film. This layer of historical reflection made the film feel like a bridge between past and present. Older audiences saw their memories validated and dramatized with elegance and humor, while younger moviegoers were introduced to the chaotic, comedic side of cinema's evolution. This dual experience created a shared viewing space where generations could appreciate the same story from different angles. For mid-century audiences, the film's vibrant optimism and polished spectacle were especially welcome in a post-war context. After years of hardship during World War II and the uncertainty of the early Cold War period, Singin' in the Rain offered a dazzling world of color, laughter, music, and love. It gave people something lighthearted and escapist, yet not shallow or meaningless. Viewers came away feeling uplifted, often noting how the film's emotional energy and warm tones stayed with them long after leaving the theater. It was common for people to describe watching the movie as a mood-lifting experience, a kind of emotional reset that restored their sense of joy and wonder. As the decades passed, new generations discovered the film through television broadcasts, film festivals, educational settings, or video rentals. Each wave of discovery brought fresh interpretations. Many who saw the movie in the 1970s and 80s, particularly younger audiences, connected to its portrayal of creativity and transformation. In a time when pop culture was rapidly evolving and individual expression was becoming more emphasized, viewers appreciated how the film centered on characters who embraced change, reinvented themselves, and found happiness in self-expression. The struggle of Don Lockwood and Cosmo Brown to adapt to new technology was read not just as a story of the film industry, but as a metaphor for surviving any period of professional or personal transition. Audiences also responded to the film's humor, which has remained surprisingly fresh and relatable even decades later. The absurdities of the early sound film era, such as Lena Lamont's grating voice or the poorly synchronized dialogue, still draw laughs from modern viewers. People find the film's satire of celebrity culture and image-making to be relevant to the present day, where curated public personas and behind-the-scenes drama continue to dominate entertainment news. The film's critique of phoniness and manufactured fame resonates strongly in a world increasingly shaped by social media and digital branding. Younger audiences, particularly in the digital age, have shown interest in the film's craftsmanship and artistic clarity. In an era of fast-paced editing, visual effects, and digital manipulation, Singin' in the Rain stands out as a showcase of physical talent and unfiltered performance. Modern viewers often marvel at the unbroken takes, the real-time dancing, and the precision of the choreography. Many have commented online and in reviews about how refreshing it is to watch a film where the artistry is transparent and human. They reflect with admiration on the fact that Gene Kelly, Donald O'Connor, and Debbie Reynolds performed these sequences live on set, without the aid of computer-generated enhancements. The titular number, in particular, continues to evoke strong emotional reactions. Viewers often describe watching Gene Kelly's performance as something close to transcendent. The pure joy, love-struck wonder, and rebellious freedom expressed in the rain-soaked dance resonates across cultures and time periods. Some see it as a metaphor for embracing life's storms, while others interpret it as the feeling of being in love, uncontainable and all-consuming. For many, it is simply a visual and emotional high point that captures something ineffable about being alive. The performance is often cited in personal reflections as a moment that brought viewers to tears, gave them chills, or remained lodged in their memory for years. Another key element of audience interpretation is the film's treatment of dreams and performance. Viewers frequently identify with the characters' desire to be seen, heard, and appreciated for who they really are. Kathy Selden's journey as a young, talented actress who struggles to find her place in a superficial industry mirrors the experiences of many striving artists and everyday people alike. Her story has inspired countless dreamers who saw in her the courage to persist, to remain authentic, and to value talent over glamour. Similarly, Don's struggle to shed his studio-created persona and become a more honest artist speaks to the universal human desire for personal integrity and creative truth. The Broadway melody dream sequence, while more stylized and abstract, has also sparked wide-ranging interpretations. Some viewers see it as a break in the narrative that symbolizes the inner creative life of an artist. Others interpret it as a commentary on the theatrical nature of Hollywood itself, where everything, even one's deepest desires, is staged and choreographed. Its lavish sets, surreal transitions, and symbolic costumes offer a fertile ground for imagination and discussion. Some viewers are enchanted by its visual splendor, while others find it jarring or overly indulgent, yet nearly all acknowledge its artistic ambition and emotional resonance. Over time, many viewers have shared personal anecdotes about how Singin in the Rain played a role in their lives. Some remember it as the first movie they watched with a parent or grandparent, creating cherished generational bonds. Others recall seeing it during difficult times, illness, depression, heartbreak, and finding in it a light that helped them feel hope again. Teachers and film lovers often describe introducing the movie to students and watching their faces light up with surprise and delight. The joy the film inspires is often contagious, sparking conversations, performances, and even impromptu dance routines among viewers. Culturally, the film has become a kind of universal language. Even people who have never seen it in full often know the music, the imagery, or the references. Its influence on pop culture has created shared moments of recognition. Someone humming Good Morning, mimicking the Make 'Em Laugh slapstick routine, or pretending to swing on a lamppost in the rain. These interactions, though casual, demonstrate the film's deep embedment in the collective consciousness. The richness of Singin in the Rain is found as much in its memorable musical numbers as in the depth and progression of its characters. Each of the main characters undergoes significant development throughout the film, with their personal journeys intricately woven into the narrative, driving the plot forward while reflecting larger themes about identity, creativity, and transformation. Their arcs offer insight into the human condition and contribute to the film's lasting appeal, making them as memorable as the songs and dances they perform. Don Lockwood, portrayed by Gene Kelly, is the film's central figure, and his character arc is the most pronounced and complex. At the beginning of the movie, Don is a popular silent film star whose public image is carefully crafted by the Hollywood studio system. He is seen as a charming, confident leading man, but beneath the surface, he struggles with insecurity about the transition to sound films. His initial resistance to change and his dependence on his manufactured persona reveal a vulnerability that makes him relatable. As the film progresses, Don's arc is one of growth and self-discovery. He learns to embrace authenticity, both in his personal life and artistic work, especially through his relationship with Kathy Selden. Don's journey from a confident, yet somewhat superficial star to a more genuine, adaptable performer highlights the film's broader commentary on the importance of honesty and reinvention in the face of industry shifts. This evolution culminates in his triumphant, heartfelt performance in the new sound film, signaling his acceptance of change and maturity as both an artist and a man. Kathy Selden, played by Debbie Reynolds, undergoes a complementary yet distinct transformation. Kathy begins as a struggling, aspiring actress determined to prove her talent and break into the industry on her own terms. She is intelligent, witty, and talented, but initially somewhat idealistic about the realities of Hollywood. Her arc centers on asserting her identity in a male-dominated, image-focused environment. Kathy's determination to be recognized for her voice and skills, rather than being overshadowed by star power or superficial glamour, reflects a broader feminist subtext about women's agency and artistic integrity. As she becomes the voice behind Lena Lamont's on-screen persona, Kathy wrestles with questions of authenticity and recognition. Over time, she moves from being an anonymous contributor to gaining acknowledgement and respect, symbolizing the triumph of talent and hard work over artifice. Her romantic relationship with Don also develops naturally, showing her growth from a hopeful outsider to an equal partner in both life and art. Cosmo Brown, portrayed by Donald O'Connor, serves both as comic relief and a vital creative force within the story. His character is the supportive best friend and musical genius behind many of the film's most inventive moments. Unlike Dawn and Kathy, whose arcs focus on personal identity and professional challenges, Cosmo's journey is more about loyalty, resilience, and joy in creation. Throughout the film, he remains upbeat and resourceful, often coming up with clever solutions to seemingly impossible problems. His unwavering optimism and quick wit provide a counterbalance to the anxieties of the other characters, helping to sustain the narrative's buoyant energy. While his arc is less dramatic, Cosmo's role as a behind-the-scenes mastermind underlines the importance of collaboration and friendship in artistic success. His growth is evident in his increasing confidence as a performer and creative partner, culminating in his show-stopping number, Make Em Laugh, which symbolizes his belief in humor and perseverance as vital to both art and life. Lena Lamont, played by Jean Hagen, offers a sharply contrasting arc to the other leads. As the film's primary antagonist, Lena embodies the pitfalls of fame based on superficiality and vanity. She starts as a silent film star with a glamorous image, but a grating voice and limited talent, representing the artifice and fragility of Hollywood stardom. Lena's arc is largely about denial and decline. She refuses to acknowledge her weaknesses and is threatened by the arrival of sound film and the rising talents around her. Her inability to adapt and her insistence on maintaining a false image ultimately lead to her downfall within the narrative. However, Lena's character is also portrayed with a degree of sympathy. Her desperation and insecurity humanize her, making her more than a mere caricature. Her arc explores themes of insecurity, jealousy, and the dangers of superficiality, serving as a cautionary counterpoint to the more positive transformations of Dawn, Kathy, and Cosmo. Supporting characters such as Dora Bailey, the gossip columnist, and R.F. Simpson, the studio head, provide additional layers of commentary on the film industry and public relations. While their arcs are less central, they contribute to the story's depiction of Hollywood as a complex, often ruthless system where image management and marketability sometimes overshadow artistic merit. Their interactions with the main characters help to frame the challenges Dawn, Kathy, and Cosmo face, highlighting the tension between creativity and commerce. The relationships between the characters are also crucial to their development. The evolving romance between Dawn and Kathy serves as the emotional core of the film. Their partnership reflects mutual respect and shared passion for authentic artistic expression. Unlike many musicals of the era, their relationship feels grounded and believable, growing naturally through shared experiences and professional collaboration. This authentic connection adds emotional weight to the film's joyful exterior. Dawn's friendship with Cosmo exemplifies loyalty and camaraderie. Cosmo's steadfast support helps Dawn navigate personal and professional challenges, emphasizing the importance of friendship in overcoming adversity. Their dynamic balances the film's dramatic and comedic elements, with Cosmo often acting as a foil to Dawn's more serious moments. Kathy and Lena's relationship is marked by rivalry and tension, underscoring themes of competition, jealousy, and the struggle for identity. Lena's resentment and Kathy's quiet determination create dramatic conflict, with the film ultimately celebrating talent and authenticity over superficiality. Each character's arc contributes to the film's broader themes of change, creativity, and authenticity. Their personal journeys intersect with the historical moment of the silent-to-sound transition in Hollywood, making their development both specific to the plot and emblematic of larger cultural shifts. The film's character development is enhanced by the performances of the actors, who bring nuance and vitality to their roles. Gene Kelly's portrayal of Don Lockwood combines charm, athleticism, and vulnerability, making his arc believable and compelling. Debbie Reynolds infuses Kathy Selden with intelligence, warmth, and resilience, while Donald O'Connor's energetic and comedic timing brings Cosmo Brown to life as a beloved and indispensable character. Jean Hagen's portrayal of Lena Lamont captures the character's petulance and insecurity, adding depth to what could have been a one-dimensional antagonist. The visual richness of Singin in the Rain owes much to its meticulous costume and set design, which play critical roles in establishing the film's time period, character identities, social hierarchies, and overall mood. The costumes and sets work together to create a cohesive, immersive world that transports viewers to the late 1920s Hollywood, capturing the glamour, artistry, and industrial scale of the era. The choices made by costume designers and set decorators are not merely decorative, they are deeply intertwined with the story and characters, enhancing narrative clarity and emotional impact. In this analysis, the layers of design in Singin in the Rain reveal how clothing and scenery reflect personality, social status, and cultural context. Beginning with costumes, the film's wardrobe is a masterclass in period accuracy blended with Hollywood flair. The late 1920s was a time of great transition in fashion, moving from the elaborate, restrictive styles of earlier decades to more relaxed and expressive garments. This transition parallels the film's thematic focus on change and adaptation, and the costumes subtly echo this tension. The characters' clothing ranges from sophisticated, tailored suits and elegant gowns to more casual, practical attire, each choice signaling aspects of their identity or role within the story. Don Lockwood's wardrobe, for example, reflects his star status and evolving persona. Early in the film, Don is frequently seen in sleek, well-cut tuxedos and formal evening wear, which convey his polished, glamorous public image as a silent film matinee idol. The sharp tailoring and classic designs emphasize his sophistication, charm, and celebrity status. As the film progresses and Don grapples with the challenges of sound films and personal growth, his costumes also adapt, sometimes showcasing more casual or working attire that highlights his humanity beyond the polished facade. This progression visually underscores his character arc from a manufactured star to an authentic artist. Kathy Selden's costumes illustrate her journey from an aspiring actress on the fringes of Hollywood to a confident, recognized performer. Her early costumes tend to be modest, practical dresses or skirts and blouses, appropriate for someone trying to break into the industry while maintaining her dignity and professionalism. These simpler clothes reflect her earnestness and work ethic, distinguishing her from the more ostentatious stars around her. As Kathy gains confidence and steps into the spotlight, her wardrobe becomes more glamorous and refined, featuring dresses with intricate detailing, elegant fabrics, and accessories that elevate her status. The costume changes mirror her transformation and growing acceptance within Hollywood's elite circles. Lena Lamont's costumes stand in stark contrast to Kathy's. Lena is consistently adorned in flamboyant, extravagant gowns designed to showcase her supposed star quality. These costumes often feature bright colors, excessive embellishments, and dramatic silhouettes that demand attention. Her wardrobe choices reflect her vanity and desire for the spotlight, reinforcing her character as a prima donna obsessed with image. However, the exaggeration in her costumes also serves as visual satire, highlighting her superficiality and lack of depth. The gaudy dresses exaggerate Lena's flaws and make her physical appearance align with her character's brash personality and inability to adapt to the changing industry. Cosmo Brown's costume design is more functional and playful, befitting his role as the comic sidekick and musical genius. He is often dressed in suits or casual attire that allows freedom of movement, supporting his energetic dance numbers and humorous antics. His clothing is less about glamour and more about practicality, mirroring his behind-the-scenes creative role and his grounded personality. His costume changes emphasize his versatility and reliability throughout the film. One of the most iconic costume moments in the film occurs during the Broadway melody, Dream sequence. This sequence is a visual extravaganza featuring highly stylized, colorful costumes that blend Art Deco influences with theatrical fantasy. The costumes in this scene are designed to evoke the glamour of the Broadway stage and the surreal nature of dreams. The exaggerated shapes, sparkling fabrics, and coordinated ensembles contribute to the dreamlike atmosphere, underscoring the imaginative freedom of the scene. These costumes contrast sharply with the more realistic wardrobes elsewhere in the film, highlighting the sequence's role as a break from reality and a celebration of creative expression. Turning to set design, Singin in the Rain offers a richly detailed recreation of 1920s Hollywood studios, lavish sound stages, elegant nightclubs, and urban streetscapes. The sets reflect the scale and ambition of the film industry during this period, capturing both the glitz of celebrity life and the grueling labor behind the scenes. The production design team created spaces that feel lived in and authentic, blending historical accuracy with stylized elements that enhance visual storytelling. The studio backlots and sound stages are among the film's most significant sets, portraying the behind-the-scenes workings of early filmmaking. These sets feature large, industrial spaces filled with cameras, lighting rigs, and set pieces in various stages of construction or disassembly. The claustrophobic feel of some interior sets contrasts with the grandeur of finished sets, illustrating the contrast between artifice and reality. Scenes shot on these sets provide insight into the filmmaking process, echoing the film's theme of transformation and the illusion of cinema. The sets also facilitate complex camera movements and choreographed dance routines, allowing the film's choreography to shine within an industrial context. The urban street scenes, such as the famous rain-soaked moment where Don Lockwood dances with a lamppost, are carefully constructed studio sets that combine realism with theatricality. The rain effects, street lamps, storefronts, and sidewalks are meticulously designed to evoke a romanticized yet believable cityscape. These sets create a mood of nostalgia and magic, enhancing the emotional impact of key sequences. The use of water and lighting on these sets is particularly notable, as it contributes to the atmosphere and visual poetry of the film. Nightclubs and party venues depicted in the film highlight the social world of Hollywood's elite, with opulent decor, grand staircases, and artful lighting. These sets emphasize luxury and sophistication, contrasting with the more functional studio spaces and underscoring the divide between public glamour and private industry work. The lavishness of these interiors supports the narrative's exploration of celebrity culture and the performative nature of social life. An important feature of the set design is the use of color and texture to support mood and theme. While the film was made in Technicolor, the sets utilize a palette that ranges from warm, inviting tones in romantic scenes to cooler, harsher hues in moments of conflict or industry tension. This deliberate use of color enhances emotional cues and visual interest throughout the film. Textures such as glossy marble, plush fabrics, and industrial metal also help to distinguish between different spaces and social contexts, enriching the film's visual storytelling. The dialogue and scriptwriting of Singin in the Rain are essential elements that elevate the film from a mere musical to a richly textured narrative that balances humor, romance, and social commentary. The screenplay, credited to Betty Comden and Adolph Green, is notable for its clever wit, memorable lines, and skillful integration of spoken words with musical numbers. The script successfully captures the spirit of the late 1920s Hollywood film industry while making the story accessible and engaging for contemporary audiences. It achieves this through well-crafted character voices, effective pacing, and a sophisticated balance of comedy and drama. From the outset, the dialogue establishes tone and character. The writing blends a lighthearted, playful approach with moments of sincerity and tension. This balance keeps the audience emotionally invested while allowing space for the exuberant musical sequences. The characters speak with distinct voices that reflect their personalities and social roles, ensuring that even brief exchanges feel authentic and purposeful. Don Lockwood's dialogue exemplifies the suave charm and confident persona he projects. His lines are often delivered with a mix of humor and earnestness, capturing both his status as a star and his underlying vulnerability. For example, early conversations where Don discusses his rise to fame are peppered with ironic humor, subtly acknowledging the manufactured nature of his public image. As the story progresses, his dialogue becomes more personal and revealing, especially in interactions with Kathy Selden. These moments of candidness help deepen his character beyond the glamorous facade, making his arc more compelling. Kathy Selden's script reflects her intelligence, wit, and grounded nature. Her dialogue often includes sharp, well-timed remarks that convey her skepticism toward Hollywood's superficiality. She serves as a voice of reason and authenticity in the story, and her lines reinforce this role. For instance, when she confronts Lena Lamont or challenges Don's assumptions, her words carry a mix of assertiveness and warmth. Kathy's dialogue also evolves to reveal her growing confidence, especially as she becomes more involved in the film production and her romantic relationship with Don. The scriptwriters craft her conversations with a natural flow, avoiding cliches and giving her a modern sensibility that resonates with audiences. Cosmo Brown's dialogue is characterized by rapid-fire humor, clever wordplay, and an exuberant energy that matches his physical comedy and dance routines. His lines often serve as comic relief, breaking tension and providing levity. The script employs puns, slapstick references, and witty banter in Cosmo's speech, showcasing his role as both a creative genius and a loyal friend. Notably, Cosmo's interactions with Don often reveal their deep friendship and mutual respect, conveyed through playful teasing and supportive remarks. This dynamic enriches the film's emotional texture while keeping the tone lighthearted. Lena Lamont's dialogue is intentionally crafted to highlight her flaws and generate humor. Her lines are often exaggerated, overly dramatic, or clumsy, emphasizing her lack of vocal talent and self-awareness. The scriptwriters cleverly use Lena's voice to create comedic tension, especially in scenes where she attempts to dub her own voice for sound films or interact with other characters who see through her act. Her dialogue contrasts sharply with Kathy's polished speech, reinforcing themes of authenticity versus artifice. Additionally, Lena's mispronunciations, malapropisms, and theatrical outbursts become iconic, contributing to the film's enduring quotability. One of the most memorable lines from the film, "Make M laugh," delivered by Cosmo, encapsulates the script's celebration of humor as a means of resilience and joy. This phrase recurs as a motif throughout the dialogue, reinforcing the importance of laughter both within the film's world and as an experience shared by the audience. The script uses such recurring themes to tie together the narrative's emotional beats and underscore its optimistic message. The screenplay structure also supports the film's pacing and comedic timing. Dialogue scenes are carefully interspersed with musical numbers, ensuring that the story advances steadily without becoming bogged down. The scriptwriters skillfully manage exposition through natural conversations rather than heavy-handed narration, allowing the plot to unfold organically. For example, the transition from silent to sound film technology is explained through character discussions that feel lively and informative, avoiding technical jargon while maintaining narrative clarity. Humor is a defining feature of the script, ranging from subtle irony to broad physical comedy. The writers expertly blend verbal wit with situational humor, often using misunderstandings, mistaken identities, and character flaws as comedic devices. For example, the repeated gag of Lena's unsuitable voice for talkies creates ongoing humor that drives the plot while deepening character interactions. The script's comedic style is self-aware and affectionate, poking fun at Hollywood cliches without undermining the character's humanity or the story's emotional core. Romantic dialogue between Don and Kathy is written with a naturalistic charm that avoids melodrama. Their exchanges are filled with teasing, vulnerability, and mutual admiration, contributing to a believable and endearing relationship. The script balances romantic tension with humor, creating scenes that feel both heartfelt and lighthearted. Moments such as their initial encounters and later confrontations showcase the gradual building of trust and affection, making their romance a central emotional thread in the film. Exposition and plot advancement are handled with finesse in the script. Rather than relying on lengthy monologues or overt explanations, the screenplay uses character interactions and visual cues to convey important information. This approach maintains audience engagement and respects the intelligence of viewers. For instance, the challenges of transitioning to sound films are illustrated through rehearsals, recording sessions, and the characters' personal struggles, all communicated through dialogue that feels natural and relevant. The screenplay also demonstrates a keen awareness of cinematic language. The dialogue is crafted with an understanding of timing, delivery, and interplay with visual and musical elements. Lines are often paced to complement song transitions or physical comedy, creating a seamless integration between spoken words and other film components. This synergy enhances the overall viewing experience, making scenes feel dynamic and well-orchestrated. Notable scriptwriting moments include the use of meta-commentary on Hollywood itself. Characters frequently reference the artificiality of films, star-making, and publicity, creating a layer of self-reflexivity that was innovative for its time. This metatextual aspect adds depth and invites the audience to think critically about the film industry and celebrity culture. The screenplay's ability to simultaneously celebrate and critique Hollywood contributes to its lasting relevance and appeal. The marketing and promotion of Singin in the Rain played a crucial role in its initial release and enduring legacy. While today the film is considered a classic and one of the greatest musicals ever made, its original marketing strategy reflected the studio practices and industry standards of the early 1950s. The promotional efforts balanced showcasing the film's star power, musical spectacle, and comedic appeal, while also appealing to an audience still nostalgic for the golden age of Hollywood's studio system. This page explores the various aspects of the film's marketing campaign, from theatrical trailers and posters to public appearances, and examines how those strategies helped position Singin in the Rain in a competitive entertainment landscape. To begin with, the film's theatrical trailers were designed to highlight its most marketable elements: the charismatic lead actors, the memorable music, and the humor. Early trailers often opened with shots of Gene Kelly's exuberant dance sequences, particularly the iconic Rain dance, which visually promised an energetic and joyful experience. These scenes were paired with lively musical snippets, capturing the film's upbeat tone. The trailers also emphasized the romantic comedy aspects, featuring playful exchanges between Gene Kelly's Don Lockwood and Debbie Reynolds' Kathy Selden, designed to attract audiences interested in both musicals and lighthearted romance. The promotional trailers skillfully balanced narrative hints with spectacle, giving viewers a taste of the story, without revealing major plot points. This approach helped build curiosity about the characters and their struggles with the transition from silent films to talkies, which was a novel and relevant theme. The trailers frequently incorporated voiceover narration to frame the film as both a nostalgic look back and an entertaining spectacle for contemporary audiences, linking the film to Hollywood's rich history while making it accessible. In addition to trailers, the film's poster art was an essential marketing tool. The original posters featured vibrant Technicolor imagery showcasing the film's stars in dynamic poses. One of the most iconic posters depicts Gene Kelly mid-leap with an umbrella in hand, set against a bright backdrop, instantly communicating movement, joy, and the central rain motif. The use of bold colors and dramatic typography made the posters visually striking, helping them stand out in crowded theater lobbies and city billboards. Posters also incorporated taglines designed to intrigue potential viewers. Phrases like, "The story of Hollywood's biggest star in his biggest musical," played up the film's meta-Hollywood premise, while emphasizing its scale and spectacle. These taglines created anticipation by promising an insider look at the film industry's exciting transition era, mixing glamour and behind-the-scenes drama. Marketing materials also often reference the popular songs featured in the film, such as Singin' in the Rain and Make 'Em Laugh, highlighting the film's musical strengths. Beyond traditional posters and trailers, the studio employed other promotional tactics common in the 1950s, including print advertising in newspapers and magazines. These ads highlighted the film's critical acclaim, star-studded cast, and innovative dance sequences. They also targeted various audience segments, from fans of musicals to those interested in Hollywood history, using tailored messaging to broaden appeal. The print campaigns often included quotes from early reviews praising the film's choreography and humor, leveraging critical endorsement to boost ticket sales. Publicity events and premieres were another significant component of the marketing strategy. The film's premiere was a star-studded affair designed to attract press coverage and generate buzz. Gene Kelly, Debbie Reynolds, Donald O'Connor, and other cast members made public appearances, participating in interviews and photo opportunities. These appearances helped humanize the stars and build personal connections with the audience, enhancing interest in the film. Additionally, studios frequently arranged for the stars to appear on radio programs and early television shows, further extending the film's promotional reach. An innovative aspect of the marketing for Singin' in the Rain was the emphasis on the film's choreography and dance sequences. The studio recognized that Gene Kelly's dynamic dancing was a major draw, so promotional materials often spotlighted this feature. In some markets, exhibitors arranged special dance demonstrations or contests inspired by the film to engage audiences more directly. This interactive approach fostered excitement and participation, turning the film's dance elements into a cultural event. The soundtrack also played a promotional role. Released in conjunction with the film, the album of songs from Singin' in the Rain helped sustain interest beyond the theater. Popular numbers were played on radio stations and performed by other artists, reinforcing the film's musical identity. The success of the soundtrack contributed to a positive feedback loop, encouraging more people to see the movie and driving record sales. This synergy between film and music marketing was a savvy strategy that maximized the film's cultural footprint. Merchandising for Singin' in the Rain in the early 1950s was more limited than what would be common in later decades, but certain tie-ins did exist. Items such as sheet music for the songs and souvenir programs at premieres allowed fans to take home a piece of the experience. Over time, as the film grew in popularity, merchandise expanded to include items like posters, postcards, and later home video releases, which further cemented the film's place in popular culture. The promotional approach also leveraged the nostalgia for Hollywood's studio era, appealing to an audience that remembered or romanticized the silent film period. By framing the film as both a tribute and a humorous take on that era, marketing materials resonated with older viewers who experienced the transition to sound firsthand, as well as younger viewers curious about cinema history. This dual appeal helped widen the film's audience base. It is important to note that Singin' in the Rain was released during a time of significant competition in the movie industry. The early 1950s saw the rise of television as a major entertainment medium, challenging movie theaters to attract audiences with bigger, more spectacular productions. MGM's marketing capitalized on the film's lavish musical numbers and vibrant color cinematography to offer an experience that television could not replicate. By emphasizing spectacle and star performances, the studio positioned the film as a must-see theatrical event. Despite its strong marketing, Singin' in the Rain initially received a modest box office response compared to other big musicals of the time. However, its reputation grew through positive word of mouth, critical acclaim, and subsequent re-releases. The marketing campaigns of later decades capitalized on the film's newfound status as a classic, using its iconic imagery and memorable scenes to attract new generations. Singin' in the Rain stands as a landmark film in the history of musicals, often hailed as the greatest musical ever made. To fully appreciate its significance, it is instructive to compare it to similar films, earlier adaptations or works by its creators, and other musicals of its era. This comparative analysis explores how Singin' in the Rain distinguishes itself through tone, style, narrative, and innovation, while also situating it within the broader context of Hollywood musical cinema. A primary point of comparison is the film's treatment of the transition from silent films to talkies, a subject that has been addressed in other works, but rarely with the same humor and depth. For example, earlier films such as The Artist, 2011, though produced much later, revisit this period with a more dramatic and nostalgic tone, focusing on loss and change. In contrast, Singin' in the Rain blends comedy, romance, and music to portray this technological shift as both challenging and full of opportunity. Its optimistic and self-reflexive tone sets it apart, offering a behind-the-scenes look that is both affectionate and satirical. In terms of narrative and character development, Singin' in the Rain compares favorably with other classic MGM musicals, especially those directed or choreographed by Gene Kelly. For instance, An American in Paris, 1951, also starring Kelly, shares a similar lush visual style and emphasis on dance, but its story is more focused on romantic idealism and artistic ambition. Singin' in the Rain balances romance with a meta-commentary on Hollywood itself, making it both a love story and a clever critique of the film industry. This duality adds layers of meaning absent in some contemporaneous musicals, giving it a more complex narrative texture. The choreography and musical integration in Singin' in the Rain are often compared to those in On the Town, 1949, and The Bandwagon, 1953, other Gene Kelly vehicles. While all three films showcase Kelly's athletic and innovative dance style, Singin' in the Rain is notable for how seamlessly its musical numbers advance the plot and develop character. For example, the fit as a fiddle and make em laugh sequences are not only entertaining but also reveal relationships and personalities. This integration contrasts with some musicals where songs function more as isolated spectacles rather than narrative devices. Another important comparison is with 42nd Street, 1933, an earlier backstage musical that also explores the challenges of show business and the performing arts. 42nd Street is darker and more cynical in tone, reflecting the hardships of the Great Depression era, whereas Singin' in the Rain is lighter, more comedic, and infused with optimism. The latter's bright Technicolor palette and buoyant performances create an atmosphere of joy that differs significantly from the more gritty realism of earlier musicals. In terms of technical innovation, Singin' in the Rain was groundbreaking in its use of color cinematography, complex dance sequences, and the blending of dialogue with musical numbers. Compared to earlier musicals like The Jazz Singer, 1927, which was primarily a pioneering sound film but less focused on dance and spectacle, Singin' in the Rain represents a mature evolution of the genre. It harnesses the full capabilities of mid-20th century filmmaking technology to create a more immersive and dynamic musical experience. The film's tone also invites comparison to My Fair Lady, 1964, another celebrated musical featuring a transformation narrative and romantic tension. While both films explore themes of identity and performance, Singin' in the Rain uses comedy and satire more heavily, especially through the character of Lena Lamont. The humor in Singin' in the Rain is sharper and more self-aware, whereas My Fair Lady leans towards social critique and dramatic tension. Looking at earlier works by its screenwriters, Betty Comden and Adolph Green, and directors Stanley Donen, Singin' in the Rain synthesizes their strengths in witty dialogue, sophisticated storytelling, and dynamic direction. The pair had collaborated previously on Broadway and in films such as On the Town, honing their ability to blend narrative and song. Singin' in the Rain represents the pinnacle of their collaboration, combining sharp scriptwriting with memorable music and innovative choreography. The film's humor and meta-commentary are also comparable to later musicals like The Producers, 1967, and Cabaret, 1972, which use satire to critique show business and societal norms. However, Singin' in the Rain remains more optimistic and less politically charged than these later films. Its lighthearted treatment of Hollywood's flaws makes it accessible and enjoyable, whereas films like Cabaret employ darker, more serious tones to explore historical and social issues. In terms of cultural impact, Singin' in the Rain differs from many musicals that focus purely on entertainment by engaging in self-reflexive storytelling. It foregrounds the artifice of filmmaking, the constructed nature of celebrity, and the absurdities of the transition to sound technology. This self-awareness was innovative for its time and has influenced countless musicals and films that followed. Movies such as La La Land, 2016, and The Artist echo Singin' in the Rain's themes of show business struggles and the bittersweet nature of fame, demonstrating its lasting influence. The film also compares interestingly with non-musical films of the era that explore Hollywood itself, like Sunset Boulevard, 1950. While Sunset Boulevard presents a dark, tragic view of faded stardom and Hollywood's underbelly, Singin' in the Rain offers a brighter, comedic perspective. Both films critique the industry, but from opposite emotional angles, reflecting differing storytelling approaches and audience expectations. Furthermore, Singin' in the Rain's influence can be traced in later works that mix music and narrative in innovative ways. For example, the use of integrated musical numbers that reveal character psychology and advanced plot paved the way for musicals like West Side Story, 1961, and Chicago, 2002. Its choreography-driven storytelling set a high bar for musicals and demonstrated the power of dance as a narrative tool. In the realm of style, Singin' in the Rain stands apart through its vivid use of Technicolor, energetic choreography, and comedic timing. Compared to other musicals from the same era, which might focus more on lavish set pieces or operatic singing, Singin' in the Rain emphasizes athletic dance, naturalistic acting, and clever humor. This blend gives it a unique tone that is neither too serious nor frivolous, striking a balance that appeals broadly. Lastly, the performances of Gene Kelly, Debbie Reynolds and Donald O'Connor in Singin' in the Rain offer a benchmark for musical acting, influencing later performers in the genre. Their blend of singing, dancing, and acting set a standard for versatility that continues to be admired and emulated. In conclusion, Singin' in the Rain compares favorably with numerous musicals and Hollywood films in terms of innovation, narrative complexity, and cultural impact. Its self-aware humor, integrated choreography, and affectionate yet satirical portrayal of Hollywood transitions make it a standout work that both honors and critiques the genre it inhabits. This comparative perspective helps illuminate why the film remains a beloved classic and a foundational text in the history of American cinema.